He's just a bad locker room guy.
Jimmy Butler's reputation at the moment is as
a young guy killer. Selfish player in the sense that
the way it went down in Chicago and now the way it just went down in Minnesota, his reputation right now is careful with your team chemistry.
A lot of outbursts took place throughout the season with the coaches, with the players, and when you're trying to build something, especially in Chicago, and he's going to be your best player, he has to be a leader on and off the court, and he did a poor example of that, and I think that's why the Bulls kind of parted ways with them.
Jimmy Butler is a man devoted to winning like no other. A basketball savant, driven and determined to win, to prove himself to others that I'm a winner. In most of his interviews, he's always made a positive out of a negative. That's why in one of these interviews, when asked who his toughest opponent was, he said,
"It's father time. I'm not getting any younger. I'm getting older. And I know I can compete with the best of them."
It painted a sad picture. If you think about it, one, for him to be talking like this is so out of character. But for two, is the fact that this is true. In his words, he isn't getting any younger. At the point of this video, he is 34, 2 years older than the age most NBA players see a decline, a point in which father time is the most prevalent in Jimmy's case. You wouldn't think father time was even his worst enemy. After a historic 2022-23 season, carrying a team that nobody expected to a finals appearance, setting records, sure, they didn't taste champagne. Regardless, the 24 season expectations were set. Weeks out from the playoffs, Jimmy gave us a peek of what he was about to do. Weeks later, he was set to do about just that. In the game versus the 76ers, things would change for the worse, as Jimmy Butler would sprain his MCL, ruling him out for 4 weeks. Of course, this didn't deter a man like Jimmy Butler, and he still played the game, and I truly believe that Jimmy Butler still has a good chance to win a ring. This video isn't about statistics or winning a ring. None of these things will be big topics in this video. Instead, this video will be about how Jimmy Butler is inspirational. His competitive spirit to win has always been there. You'd have to have an insane spirit to go through what he has to have went through, what he has gone through. I'm about to talk about We Must Go Back in Time. So, Jimmy's path to the NBA, as most would know, wasn't easy. At just 13, roaming from place to place, wondering what the next meal would be, would build up the mental toughness that would help him in his basketball career. Speaking of which, he would start playing ball at high school after meeting some friends and staying over, specifically Tomball High School, a place that isn't ranked all that high in the country. Jimmy Butler, in fact, was ranked 73rd in the state. Looking for a college that would take him, it wouldn't be until 1 year of Tyler Junior College and getting a scholarship at Marquette where his career would really show some sort of promise. There, he would meet head coach Buzz Williams, who upon meeting him saw some sort of potential. Buzz, seeing this potential, pushed Jimmy hard. The story goes, in their first ever individual workout, had Jimmy perform a one-on-one defensive drill for 1 hour straight. Of course, after that, Jimmy was dead tired. The mental toughness he had built from the challenges before would help him overcome these drills. Day after day, Buzz would make Jimmy work maniacally. This work would pay off. It would see him become a sixth man that would come in clutch in many games during his tenure at Marquette. Unfortunately, during his 4 years at Marquette, he would never win an NCAA championship. However, this caught the eye of the NBA. Draft day would come.
How do you work this thing, man?
2014-17 saw Jimmy become a rising star. Even with all the things happening around him, D Rose getting injured, and the team looking completely brand new, a lot of the team and the staff from when he first got there were either traded or fired, replaced by flashier names like Dwayne Wade or Rondo and a new coach that we will get to later. Even with new faces, new systems, Jimmy Butler found a way to keep improving as a player. Of course, everyone knows though how this story ends. The new coach, Fred Hoiberg, never saw eye to eye with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy felt Hoiberg was a soft guy, and as Michael Carter Williams, dang that's a long name, said in a team meeting, the discussion in the meeting went left quick.
Well then fuck you, Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, it's fuck me now. You wanted to know what I want.
That offseason in 2017, Jimmy was traded to Minnesota, a seemingly better situation on the outside. However, this would start a weird saga in Jimmy Butler's career that I can only describe as the gray years between his Chicago and Heat days. Nevertheless, they are years in Jimmy's career, and I gotta talk about it. one way or another. So, an infamous time, regardless of who you are, everyone knows of the Jimmy Butler Minnesota era, an era stamped with controversy. Before we get to that side of the story, the beginning of this match made in hell, the fans, Minnesota and Jimmy, believed this team of Andrew Wiggins, Teague, and Cat would work if they went in the right direction. And on paper, it seemed like a solid plan. Cat was a generational big, despite what people say, and he still is. And Andrew Wiggins was looking good, not today, but then. I wouldn't say a #1 draft pick good, but he was there. Jeff Teague was a solid point guard. Of course, the point guard recounts that everything was going well until...
Fuck this shit, Teague. This ain't gonna work.
And let's just say everything went off the rails quick.
Told GM Scott Layton, quote, "You effing need me." How would you describe what happened today?
A lot of it's true.
Chemistry between Butler and Cat was bad. And for this reason, and possibly many more, the Wolves were bounced out in 5 by their Harden-led Rockets. In November, Jimmy was traded to the Sixers. Jimmy Butler's time in the Sixers uniform saw the team up of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, a trio that nobody thought to be stopped. Including outside pieces like JJ Redick, this team seemed like title contenders. And it seemed to be going smoothly until the shot happened, and it ended their season. And in the podcast with Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick, after the shot, Jimmy was traded to Miami. Before Jimmy's arrival to Miami, people seriously questioned if Jimmy was great as a basketball player. Labels such as locker room cancer, uncoachable, things that in reality were far from the truth. And that's what makes his years with Miami that much more worth it. Of course, he had more years, and I'll touch up on those in another video, but for now, I'm going to talk about 1 year in particular, the bubble year. And this is just to highlight why Jimmy Butler is inspirational. 2019, the bubble, in my opinion, is an underrated year of basketball. For a reason, it's just straight up basketball. No home court advantage, no complications from the crowd, just straight up basketball. It allowed players who were thought to not be that good to hoop at a higher level. Of course, this isn't a video about the bubble. Might make one, but definitely not a video about the bubble right now. No, this is a video about the madman himself. Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Butler, carrying his baggage from the previous years, carried his newfound team in the Miami Heat to a crazy playoffs run. After beating Indiana in 4 games, they would go against the Bucks. Of course, the Bucks being the 3 seed, no one would expect them to win. But what Jimmy Butler would do is crazy. He literally beat the brakes off them in 5 games. Something no one thought they were going to do. Then, against a young core in Boston, they beat them in 6 games. Of course, meaning they had just made the finals. And at this point, Jimmy had effectively silenced his haters. People now realize that Jimmy might have not been the problematic locker room cancer that people made him out to be. Of course, Jimmy still had to face the LeBron-led Lakers. Of course, Jimmy Butler did his best. But in the end, LeBron and AD plus Rondo was just a superior team. The moment that I think might be most famous from the finals, however, and maybe the bubble, is the clip of Jimmy Butler resting. You could see the fatigue, the weariness of a man who was willing to die trying to win the finals. A moment that just demonstrates how much of a winner Jimmy is. In fact, everywhere Jimmy has went, in some way, he has contributed to winning. A lot of his interviews, you can really tell he gives 110 effort. When it comes to winning, as a fan of Jimmy Butler, I really hope that one day he does in fact win the ring. He deserves it more than ever as a Texan. And I hope Father Time doesn't catch up to it before he can do just that. Jimmy, no matter what anyone says about him, is a man who will be known as a winner in many people's hearts. Even though the antics and the shenanigans 20 years, people might seem in a light similar to that of a Reggie Miller. Either way, his story to me is inspirational, and maybe if you have half a soul, you were a tad bit inspired. I'm trying to make more diverse videos if you couldn't tell, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.